Okay, Joe Leigh here for Seconds Out with Edward Hearn once again. Last time we started off the interview... Edward Hearn.
Only my mum calls me that.
Last time we started off the interview, I asked you how both fighters win. I want to do that again. How does Okolie win? How does Cieslak win?
I think I was just with one of the Polish reporters over there. They're shocked that we chose Cieslak for a voluntary defence. I'm doing it because I want a great fight. And I believe that Lawrence Okolie is the best cruiserweight in the world. Therefore, he should have no fear against any cruiserweight. The answer of how Lawrence Okolie wins this fight is the same way that he wins every cruiserweight fight, by taking someone's chin clean off. The hardest puncher in the division, actually maybe the hardest pound for pound puncher. He's definitely on that list. This guy has got dynamite in both hands. Now, how does Cieslak win? He uses experience. You know, he makes it tough for Lawrence Okolie. He fights with him and maybe he outlasts him, or I don't know. But this is an elite cruiserweight in Cieslak, a very, very dangerous fight. But I just believe that no one can stand up to the power of Lawrence Okolie.
And one more, how is this fight actually happening? Because the roof was flying off like a few days ago.
No, it's okay. It's not quite near to the arena, so the O2 have done a great job, and we'll be good to go on Sunday.
What were you thinking when you first saw those images and videos?
My mates were sending them to me, like saying, "Have you got a show there next Sunday?" And I looked at it and thought, well, like it's hard to know if that's over the arena or it's not actually. It's back towards some of the retail outlets. But obviously, while it's happening, how much of this thing is going to come off? Like, and when you actually see it from overhead, like the whole thing could have come. I mean, so yeah, it wasn't the best when I was seeing it, but we were looking at other options for venues. But thankfully, we'll be in the O2 on Sunday.
Just quickly, what venues were they? Obviously, last minute.
No, you just start thinking about. I mean, it's not easy, to find a venue on a few days' notice. So we were very pleased when the management at the O2 confirmed we'll be good to go on Sunday.
And you got a very good undercard, Jordan Gill fighting for European, and then Dillian Whyte. You seem really excited about that Dillian Whyte fight. Quite ballsy to put him in a 10-rounder straight away.
Especially when I've just seen Bautista, who is like, you got to understand where these fighters come from in Mexico. They've just turned, like, that Bautista's just turned up on a media workout being filmed on the pads. He can't believe it. He's never been filmed in a fight, let alone on the pads. So all of a sudden he's thinking, this is my opportunity. This is the moment of my life. And then you've got Dillian Whyte, who's debuting against like some nutty Mexican in Bautista, who will not stop coming for 10 rounds. And the danger for Dillian Whyte is not that he's not good enough to deal with Bautista, but when if it gets to 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds, that's all new territory for Dillian Whyte. So, he's an outstanding fighter. This young man is someone that I believe is, the standout star of Tokyo, and a true, I believe, has the ability to be a true British great. And it's great to see these Olympians not fucking around with 6, 7, 6-rounders. They don't need that. If you've got the ability, let's see it. And obviously down at Dillian's weight, the faster that he can move, the better for him.
Is it going to be a common theme then for you to put him in big fights quicker than most fighters?
Everything depends on how it goes on Saturday. He's not just going to be in 10-rounder after 10-rounder, but I don't see him doing a 6-round fight. Now, if we can slot him into some mega shows, maybe Canelo Alvarez's card or at Madison Square Garden, an 8-rounder, that's the kind of profile that we want to give Dillian Whyte. So everything depends on Saturday. Listen, if he steamrolls through Bautista, maybe we keep going. But, people should be applauding Dillian Whyte for taking this kind of challenge.
Do you also feel like a big reason for you putting him on, for example, a 10-rounder, and you're saying Canelo shows, things like that, is because he's at a smaller weight and you need him to be on these big shows to get his name out?
You have to do more in the smaller weights because they're not as glamorous as the heavyweight division. But, luckily for Dillian, you've got, we have the WBC flyweight world champion, Julio Cesar Martinez, who's fighting Chocolatito up at super flyweight next week. We've also got Jesse Rodriguez, the WBC super flyweight world champion. We've got Rungvisai, we've got Estrada. So there's so many mega fights down in that weight class, which is great for him. He's got a long way to go before he hits those guys. But this fight's the WBC international title. Who knows, in 4 or 5 times, Cesar Martinez might be moving up to super flyweight and Dillian will be slotting in.
Talking of mega fights, obviously the rematch between AJ and Usyk is happening, but there's also a mega situation over in Ukraine. How likely is that potential war that's happening going to delay the fight a little bit? I don't know if Usyk...
No delays. I mean, I guess, I don't know the situation where Oleksandr Usyk lives, but obviously he'll go and take part in camp wherever he needs to for that fight to take place. It won't be in Kiev, obviously. The fight was never going to be there anyway, so I don't see it affecting the preparation of Oleksandr Usyk in any way, and it certainly wouldn't affect the planned date for that fight.
Obviously, if the fight and the date's not affected, obviously mentally though, do you feel like going into that fight he might be a little bit affected? His country's literally at a war.
I don't feel like Oleksandr Usyk would be affected by much mentally. Do you know what I mean? Like he's a pretty cold motherfucker, isn't he? So, you know, I think he's emotionally and mentally very strong, and I'm sure he'll be ready for the rematch.
Let's get off the politics then. AJ, do we have any news on the trainers and when he's going to announce?
No, he'll announce that when he starts his camp. You know, which we're looking at a sort of middle end of May, early June fight. So I think realistically you're going to see him start camp. You know, in the next probably 2 weeks or so. So I'm sure he'll let everybody know his plans when he starts his actual camp.
And I've seen you mention the venues, potentially Spurs. What are the current top three, if you could give us top three?
We'd like to do it in London, and I spoke to Daniel Levy yesterday. I'd love to do it back at Spurs, but at the same time, Oleksandr Usyk has a piece of the pie, the cake. So he's going to want to go where the most money is. So we're looking at various offers and options that we've had in, and I reckon we're a couple of weeks away from a decision.
While you're at it, could you tell Daniel Levy to sign a few more players for Spurs?
Well, my daughter said to me the other day, why is it that Spurs, which is our family team really, I suppose, outside of Leyton Orient, why is it that Spurs keep beating these great teams and then losing to the rubbish ones? Was their exact words. So I'm sure they're not too happy after last night's result.
And then Kambosos, Devin Haney. Last time we spoke, you said if it doesn't happen, it's probably down to Kambosos, but there's kind of been some changes in the last week or so. What's the latest on that fight?
It's going all right. I said, DAZN have got in the middle and sort of talking to, all right, mate, talking to Lou DiBella, talking to us. They'd love to make the Devin Haney fight. Really, looking in from the outset, I think Kambosos has two options. Lomachenko in a standard defence or Devin Haney in the undisputed. And I think he'd rather do the undisputed fight, so hopefully we can get there.
What's your opinion on this? Because everyone's saying he's not ducking Haney if he fights Lomachenko, but fighting Haney's for the undisputed, so he kind of why wouldn't you fight Haney? Do you kind of understand?
I mean, and Devin Haney's coming out saying, I'll take the same money, so I think all things considered, George Kambosos would rather fight Devin Haney to clear up the undisputed fight. It's a tremendous fight. George deserves his big night in Australia, and hopefully we can get the deal done.
Last topic, how likely is it that Fury Whyte sells out Wembley?
Sells out Wembley? Depends how they price it. But yeah, it should do. I mean, it's a big fight. I mean, look, at the moment it's a bit of a nightmare because Tyson Fury's gone on a media blackout and Dillian Whyte's just training in Portugal. But look, it's a good fight, and I think if they price it fairly, I'm sure they'll sell it out.
And do you think Whyte should continue to be silent in the build-up? Do you think that gets to Fury?
He's just training, so it's very different when a purse bid situation to an actual commercial contract. So he doesn't really have obligations to be here, there and everywhere. All he has obligations to do is to turn up and fight, and that's all he's concentrating on. So I think there's a little bit of mind games, but I'm sure he'll be at press conferences when the time is right, but just focused on the fight.
And last of all, are you going to be involved at all, if any?
I don't think I'll be invited, but I'll be working with Dillian and have done for the last 7 or 8 years, and we're very close, loyal to each other, and we've had his back, he's had ours, so we'll give him any support he needs in that fight.
We're looking forward to this weekend, specifically the Galal Yafai fight. Thanks for talking to SecondsOut.